Oh, hello. Can we please talk about UFC 277? Admittedly, it wasn't one that I was too excited about, as you saw from my my debut of Burt's drunken fight picks, which was... I was going to take it down, and I watched it back, and I was actually, you know what, that's pretty funny, because I didn't really remember, I remember doing it, but I didn't really remember much of what I said. I mean, some of it was a bit silly, some of it was, dare I say, casual, but stand by it. I wasn't... that event was not blowing my skirt up, and I won't pretend that it was. However, upon watching it, it was better than I gave it credit for, actually, and I'm ready to eat a couple of slices of humble pie. We're going to be taking a look at what bets. I don't think I put any bets on. I think I actually forgot. But anyway, I'm going to recap that event, take a quick look at what's been going on in the news, and even find maybe a funny meme here or there. And yeah. That sounds good. Stay with me for the Burt Locker, episode 128. As I said, it was a pretty decent event. When I was actually watching it, I was like, actually, you know what? This is pretty good. Like, some of the fights that stood out for me, I mean... it was a shame to see Anthony Smith, because I think his leg was broken, or he's done something to his ankle that requires surgery, but it was the inside kick of Ankalaev that actually did it. So it was it's a valid win. It wasn't like, oh, it's a freak accident. I don't subscribe to that. Ankalaev kicked him real nice, and then the rest. So some of those ground pound shots were nasty, but you know, Anthony Smith didn't have two legs to spring back on. So, but that was because of a kick from Ankalaev. So it's a very good win for Ankalaev. Good finish as well. It was a more exciting fight than the Thiago Santos one. And I look forward to seeing both of them again. I look forward to seeing Anthony Smith again, to be fair. Hopefully he can rehab that, because he came in looking very big. He spent a lot of time working on getting his size up so that he wasn't undersized in the octagon. And actually, I felt like there seemed to be a lot more jeopardy on everything that he was throwing. And I'll be intrigued to see if he can keep that going. Come back, Magomed Ankalaev is obviously... what's the next stop for him? Realistically, like Jerry Prochaska wants to rematch with Glover again. Do you do Ankalaev against Jan Blachowicz? Maybe. You know, it's like it's getting to that time, isn't it? Getting to that time. In fact, I quite like that matchup. I don't think that Jan Blachowicz is a walkover for anybody. I think you've really got to watch that power that he throws. So yeah, make that matchup. Derrick Lewis. Look. People call it the Texas curse. I'm fairly sure he beat Myson Tybura and Ilir Latifi in Texas, if my memory serves correctly. But he does lose a lot in Texas, to be fair. He just doesn't seem to... It's like a home field disadvantage that Derrick Lewis has. To be fair, basically, what it was, the difference was that Pavlovich was throwing straights, bang, bang, down the middle, and Lewis was trying to return with big swing. Like, the straights down the middle are just going to get there. They're just going to get there. And it was just overwhelming with volume. I don't think he really had him, knocked out. However, the stoppage was fine, right? People were crying about the stoppage again in the Derrick Lewis fight. Look, if you flop forwards after taking punches, if you flop forwards flat on your face, the referee might well step in. And that's on you, right? Yeah, okay, he was springing back up. He sprang back up to his feet. But the referee, number one job is fighter safety. So if you look like you are compromised, then the referee might stop it. We don't need more Mario Yamasakis out here. You know, if he dies, he dies. I'm kidding. I think Mario actually got a really, really bum rap. I don't think he was as bad as people remember him being. Anyway, commiserations to Derrick Lewis. He'll be back. Be interesting to see where Pavlovich goes from here. A lot of interesting matchups in that heavyweight division. Maybe a Walt Harris. See a Walt Harris in there. Volkov's probably looking for a matchup. See what happens when Aspinall comes back. Lots of fun matchups out there in the heavyweight division. Moreno versus Kai Kara France. Now that was always that was one of the fights on this card that I was think in my head, that's going to be a good one. Because anytime Moreno steps in there, wonderful. I love these Mexican fighters, right? Because generally speaking, just to generalize, you know, they tend to bite down in the mouthpiece and they fucking go for it. And I love that. I applaud that. It's fun to watch. I mean, you look at, you know, Gilbert Melendez was the same. You know, Diego Sanchez, just to name a couple off the top of my head. But like Moreno, that liver kick. Whoa, the noise. That just he literally stabbed him in the liver with his toe. That was, it's horrible. And yeah, no, liver kicks are no joke, man. They are no joke. I've been hit in the liver before, and it's honestly, it like you can't. Your whole body just shuts down. And as soon as he landed that kick, I was like, I think it's done, because he landed it, and then you saw Kai Kara just like start to double over, and that's all she wrote. Am I kind of, you know, hyped for another rematch with Davison Figueiredo? Look, they're always fun fights. They are always fun fights. You know, am I clamouring for it? I mean, probably not, honestly. It's like, we're getting a lot of rematches lately. I mean, I get it. It's because, like, the best guys seem to be just, you know, they lose their title fight and then they just go right back. And it's just, it's nature of the beast. A lot of rematches lately, though. Where's the lie? Nunes versus Pena. Look, it went pretty much how I thought it was going to go. I do think that, look, Pena wasn't lucky to beat Nunes in the first fight. Luck had nothing to do with it. She was just a better woman on the night. I do think that Nunes is probably the better fighter overall. I think that if they were to fight 10 times, that Nunes would probably win 7 of them. So for that reason, am I clamouring for a rematch? No, not really, is the answer. But am I clamouring for another Valentina versus Nunes fight? I don't know, not really, is the answer. I don't know what the answer is to that kind of dominance, to like, because I mean, obviously, I think Valentina would be the most legitimate challenge for Nunes at this point. But Nunes has beaten her twice already, and if she just employs the same strategy, I don't see that fight really necessarily going any differently. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Or you could just keep feeding people to Amanda Nunes because people like blood. And man, against Pena, there was a lot of blood. Do you know what I mean? That Just Bleed fella must have been having a field day. I know I was. It was a squash match. It was. Like, don't get me wrong, Pena, she was throwing up enough submissions. She almost had that armbar. I think it was in the 4th or 5th round. That got me out of my seat. That was exciting. But outside of those little bits, those little kind of glimmers, let's be fair, it was a squash match. It was like watching Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam versus John Cena. Just literally just annihilation. Just all it was. And so for that reason, it's like, I don't know, the rematch, it just doesn't appeal to me that much. But all in all, a way better event than I gave it credit for. And I will try not to go to my mate's birthday next Friday, and I'll try and actually do some proper picks, because those picks, whilst funny, they weren't proper, but it was entertaining. It did make me laugh when I watched it back. I was like, Burt, you fucking dickhead. What are you doing? You know, and you got to laugh at yourself, haven't you? You have to. Like, don't take life too seriously. None of us are getting out of here alive anyway, you know? So anyway, before I go into the news, I just want to say thank you to supporting the show. If you could please hit the bell notification, hit the like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments who you've been betting on. Just throw any comments in there. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me something that you want to see covered in the news. You know, just do something. Comment, please. It helps my algorithms, you fucks. Anyway, thank you. Check out the Patreon as well. You get extra fight picks over there, you idiots. Anyway, into the news. Jake Paul versus Rahman Jr. is off. Yeah, I mean, it was because basically Rahman couldn't get down to 205 pounds. But I mean, Jake Paul's a pretty big guy anyway. I don't know. Well, I thought he was weighing around 205. I might be wrong. Either way, that fight is off. But the main consensus is Eddie Hearn, Dana White, Chael Sonnen, they've all basically said that the reason they pulled the event was because actually ticket sales were looking pretty slow. Because actually, look, Dana White, like him or not, he's kind of a point of authority on this. He knows it inside and out. He literally just said, look, ticket sales weren't going great, and you can't even turn the lights on in Madison Square Garden for less than $500,000. So That's why they pulled the event. You know, Jake Paul's, he was quite complimentary to Paul. He said, look, end of the day, you know, he's going to put on another big fight soon, but they couldn't shift those kind of ticket numbers because obviously it just wasn't the matchup that people were clamouring for. So, yeah. It's like, look, I think that really, you know, Jake Paul needs to keep on doing what he's doing and keep on fighting people with somewhat of a name. Because Tommy Fury would have been ideal, which it's a shame that he couldn't get the visa sorted. But you need somebody with somewhat of a name. Yoel Romero would be fun, you know, because that's another like old MMA fighter who is, you know, who's shorter, smaller, and but has a lot of power. That could be fun. I'd be interested in that one. But Yoel Romero versus Jake Paul is something that I would 100% watch. And you know, I don't know who I'd put my money on, honestly, because Jake Paul just seems to be passing every test that's put in front of him. But they're not necessarily boxers. They're fighters, legitimate fighters, not boxers, is what I would say. Anyway, trial of the week. This week we have got, what have we got? It was a Derrick Lewis one. I'm fairly sure of it. Yeah, so we go. Yeah, so basically it alludes to the Texas curse. Good old Derrick Lewis. He doesn't seem to do so great in Texas, although he has won in Texas. It's a fallacy. He's definitely won in Texas. Like Marcin Tybura, I'm almost certain was in Texas. But anyway, yeah, got Derrick Lewis fighting in Nevada. He's a giant hulking demon, and fighting in Texas, he's a tiny little chihuahua, which seems to be how it goes. But that is all I have got time for this week. The fights up next week, actually, these ones I am interested in. For a start, the main event. Thiago Santos, he's due for a very good performance. So they're putting him in against Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill is someone I'm very, very high on. The man hits different. Well, tune in this week, you'll see. Like, my money's probably going on Hill. I like Jamal Hill a lot. He hits different. He hits people just, their whole demeanour changes when he lands on them. It doesn't look like he hits hard, but then he punches people and they're like, oh God, that's horrible. Or they go completely sideways like Johnny Walker. You remember that? Remember that one? Huh? Yeah. Sam Alvey's got his last chance saloon for Sam Alvey now. Either way, that'd be fun. Augusto Sakai against Sergey Spivak. That's going to be a fun one. There's some really sneakily good fights on this card, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll be breaking those down on Friday, getting some extra ones onto the old Patreon. So until then, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.